Hello, I'm Beth Joey and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is the channel where I paint my face, turn my camera on, and talk about some books. It is officially week 3 of Realm of the Realmathon, created by Covers with Cassidy, and I have to say it has been an absolute mix of a readathon for me. Do check out the other 2 readathon vlogs I have created. I will link them up above and down below. But basically, my first week read like 6 books, was amazing. Second week read one book. And it was only 420 pages, so I have literally no excuse other than the fact that I was really busy with work, and then it was the Easter weekend as well, so I had friends coming to stay and it was absolutely hectic. I literally just finished filming for that vlog, so I thought why not kickstart and get everything ready to go for the next week's vlog. And so I am here ready to tell you about what I'm going to be reading next and what my plans are for this week. Whether or not I will go through with them, we shall see. But before I do, please do let me know down below what team you are on, how the readathon is going for you at the moment. I want to know how many points you're getting for Team Bale, hopefully, or for the other teams, that's fine too. How many points you're taking away from other teams, whether you've loved the books, hated the books, all that sort of stuff. Tell me down below. For me, the next book that I'm going to be reading for Realm of the Readathon is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas. This was not one of the books on my readathon TBR, and I'm finding that I'm actually not reading any of the books that are on my readathon TBR because I've decided to start a little Sarah J Maas project. I know very, very little about The Assassin's Blade. This is basically the first time I've ever picked it up, had any interest in reading it. I'm not a huge fan of novellas. It says, Selena Sardothian is Adelan's most feared assassin. As part of the Assassin's Guild, her allegiance is to her master Arabin Hamel, yet Selena listens to no one and trusts only her fellow killer for hire, Sam. In these action-packed novellas together in one edition for the first time, Selena embarks on 5 daring missions. They take her from remote islands to hostile deserts where she fights to liberate slaves and seeks to avenge the tyranness. But she is acting against Arabin's orders and could suffer an unimaginable punishment for such treachery. Will Selena ever be truly free? Explore the dark underworld of this kick-ass heroine to find out. Now, of course, you'll know if you've watched my previous vlog, at which I will link up above, I am not a huge fan of Selena, so it'll be interesting reading this book, whether or not it will change my mind about her, whether or not it'll give me some of the reasons why she's so brutal and so violent and so vain. I'm hoping that reading this will make me sympathize with her a little bit more and hate her a little bit less, but we shall see. I will let you know my thoughts as I go through the book. As for the other books that I want to get through, I am carrying them across from last week, and we are hoping to at least finish Heir of Fire by Sarah J Maas, and as an absolute bonus, if I manage to get through things really quickly, I'm hoping to read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas as well. So it's definitely going to be a Sarah J Maas week. It's definitely going to be me hoping and praying that I get through some of these books, because some of the books on my actual physical monthly TBR are the second book in the ACOTAR series, and if I don't get these done, I'm not going to get that finished, and I'm not going to get the other books on my physical TBR finished, which means I'm going to be picking up a bunch of punishment prompts for my next game of Snakes and Ladders TBR. If you want to know what I'm talking about, if you're thoroughly confused, I will link the last Snakes and Ladders TBR up above and down below as well, so you can check out what I mean. But I really need to read these books, otherwise I am going to have so many punishment prompts. Without further ado, let's get to reading, and I will keep you updated on my thoughts in a bit. Coming at you guys from a new location again, this time because I'm working from home today. It is Wednesday. I am so confused with all the days at the moment because we've just had the bank holiday weekend and it's thrown out my whole week, so I'm here thinking it's Tuesday, but it's actually Wednesday. I just started my lunch break and I figured I've already read one of the stories in The Assassin's Blade, so why not give you guys an update story by story on what I thought of it. And the first one that I read was The Assassin and the Pirate. This book is one of the 5, I think, that feature in The Assassin's Blade, which is a series of novellas that Sarah J Maas published after Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. And they're sort of a prequel to everything that happened in Throne of Glass and Selena's time in Endovia and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely interesting so far. Whilst I get that this is all about Selena's time as an assassin, I'm kind of like, this book started really darkly, like not just assassin death, but the death of a loved one pretty much right off the bat, and it through me. But I did hope that this series of novellas would give me a different perspective on Selena, and I am glad to say that it did. I think part of the reason why I don't like her so much is because I see her as an adult acting childishly when actually she is a child. She's like 16 and 18 in the books that I've been reading. So it does kind of explain some of her vainness and vindictiveness and pettiness and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think this is another classic case of an author writing a protagonist's characteristics that are completely disaligned with the character's actual age. So they make you think that the character is at a lot older than they are when they're actually only like 16 or 18, and they blame it all on the fact that the character has had traumatic experiences that has made them have to grow up quickly, and I'm just not a huge fan of that side of things. I'm going about some of Rolf's interactions with Selena later down the line in the series, because at the end of the day this is a bit of a reread for me, minus Assassin's Blade, because I hadn't read that before. It was nice to get some background on both the mutual hatred that they have and the mutual respect as well, because they are both sort of kings or queens in their own right. It's also good to have some backstory on why Selena is so open to rebellion, both with her own actions and constantly going against what people are telling her to do, and then just in the broader rebel movement as well. It wasn't really fully explained, I don't think, in Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, other than the fact that she'd been in Dovia and was a slave, so naturally was more inclined to fighting the system. But I still think this particular novella ended a little too happily ever after for my liking. It didn't feel overly high stakes, so Rolf basically handing over all his power felt incredibly unrealistic. And of course, you can't read The Assassin and the Pirate without having a brief comment on the enemies to lover romance that is blooming between Sam and Selena. Of course, we all know how that ends, but I'm still loving it nonetheless. So I'm just about to pick up The Assassin and the Healer, which I assume will be about the same length because this one was about 50 pages. So if there's 5 and the total thing is like 250 pages on my Kindle, then I'm assuming they're split equally. I will let you know in a bit what I think of that one. Okay, so this next one was a lot shorter than I expected, and that was The Assassin and the Healer, which follows Selena, obviously, and then Irene Towers, I think is how you pronounce her name, who is a woman whose mother used to have magic, and I think she was killed at the beginning of the sort of destruction of magic by Ardalan. And the first thing I noticed was this story feels a lot more like backstory about why Selena decided to stick with Arab and Hamel when she clearly had the money and the resources and the ability to run away if she really wanted to, given he'd obviously treated her so horribly, which was made abundantly clear in the previous books. The easy assumption to make was that Arabin had sort of brainwashed her and that's why she stuck around, but I think this gives her the reason for why she stayed, which was that she realized she could do more good actually staying where she was than running away and just being selfish. So her selflessness comes out a bit more in this book. As a side note, there are some seriously useful self-defense tips in this book. I even like highlighted a few and wrote them down and was like, actually, this is a really good idea. If I ever get into a situation, I'm totally gonna follow this advice. This one was just wholesome and fluffy and friendly and happily ever after. It was all about like how the assassin grew a heart sort of thing. And frankly, it was a nice break from the usual doom and gloom of this series. Given I know that Rolf is a character that appears later in the Throne of Glass series, I'm really hoping that's the case for Irene as well, because I really love her as a character and I think she's gonna be really, really interesting to follow, particularly if magic comes back to the world. I'm hoping she gets a moment where Selena sees just how much the self-defense that she taught Irene really impacted her life, and whether, you know, she was able to teach self-defense to other women and she was able to become a healer and all those sorts of things. But other than this, I don't really have much to say about this book because it was so short. I'm literally at the end of my lunch break and I finished it already, so I'm just gonna jump straight into the next one. And the next one is The Assassin and the Desert. So it looks like all of these follow on quite quickly from one another in terms of chronology of events, because as you start each novella, it sort of hints that you're kicking off right from where you left off last time, maybe a month difference. So yeah, I'm going to finish off my lunch break reading this book and then I will let you know towards the end of the day what my thoughts are. Baguette Express is legit the best sandwich you'll get in London. I will die on that hill. Beats Subway every time. I'm gonna go eat my lunch because I'm so excited for this. It is officially the end of the workday and I have to admit I got almost no reading done today, which is to be expected because I spent most of my lunch break running errands and then obviously busy working for the rest of the day, so not a ton of reading done. But I just wanted to jump in very, very quickly to say I picked up my books from the library, I got myself an amazing lunch, which I'm sure you saw in my previous clip, and I'm still not used to this whole light until 8 p.m. thing because it's like, what, 6 p.m. now? I'm just looking at the clock on my computer and it is still bright outside to the point where it looks like it's midday. Don't get me wrong, I'm loving it because it means I don't have to have my filming done by 3 p.m. anymore so that I can like get good lighting, but it's tripping me up so much because it's bright outside and I'm thinking it's lunchtime and it's actually not. Anyway, it's the end of the workday, so I'm going to be solidly reading this evening. I'm hoping to get one more update to you guys on the Assassin's Blade. I'm hoping to finish the 3rd novella today. I'm enjoying it alright so far, but I'm finding reading them quite slow. It's a lot of setup, obviously no overarching plot really falling throughout these, despite the fact that they're all connected one after the other in terms of chronological events. They're all separate stories. I'm really hoping that a lot of these characters appear later throughout the series and they're all sort of like build up into this big rebel movement. But on that front, I guess we'll find out later on down the line. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading. I'll let you guys know my thoughts once I get to the end of the third book. And if the fourth one is cheap, I'll get to the end of that too. And yeah, I'll see you in a bit. It's been about half an hour since I last spoke to you. And honestly, I don't have much to say about this particular story. I just finished The Assassin in the Desert and there wasn't really a whole heap that happened, so I'm just gonna keep this update short. I think a good 70% of this story was just set up and character building for like a big plot twist that happens at the end, and it made sense in some ways because you were connected to the characters, and so when the plot twist happened you really felt it, but it also meant that there wasn't a clear plot to follow, and so reading the book felt really slow and just felt like one long training montage without much point. To be fair, the twist was definitely unexpected and it did have me gasping, even though it was internally, when it happened. I also liked that the story about the Asterian mare that Selena mentioned, I think it was in Throne of Glass, was sort of thrown in here so you could finally understand why she said, oh, I've had an Asterian mare before. But still, the ending was another like happily ever after ending that didn't make a ton of sense to me. Like, this villain, I guess, in this story was literally handed her weapon back to her and the stakes were so high, even though she'd just been defeated. Like, if your enemy hands your weapon back to you, why would you not like keep trying to fight rather than just running off? But anyway, like I said, don't have much more to say about this one. It was one long training montage. It was generally enjoyable, but it felt like a really long slog through this book, even though it was only like 50 pages on my Kindle. I'm moving on now to The Assassin and the Underworld, which is 56 pages long, so hopefully there's a little bit more happening in this one, so I've got a little bit more to say. I've also got to make myself dinner at some point, but to be honest, I'm not really hungry, and I need to clean up my flat and wash the dishes because there's a bit of a pile in the kitchen at the moment, which, oh my god, I would be feeling so much shame if I showed it to you right now. But yeah, that's what I'm up to for the rest of the evening. I will give you another update, hopefully, if I finish this book tonight, and then we'll probably do the last one tomorrow. See you in a bit. Hey guys, I am back with another update. I have been so slack this week. I think the last update I filmed was Wednesday and it's now Saturday because I was in the office on Thursday and then I got really ill on Friday, but all good now, all better. I finished the fourth book in the Assassin's Blade novella series on Wednesday, I believe it was, and that was The Assassin and the Underworld. So I'll give you my thoughts on that, and I've just started the fifth one, but let's be honest, I'm probably gonna finish it this weekend and then I'm not gonna get any of the other books that I was planning to read done because it's just been another hell week. Starting The Assassin in the Underworld, I immediately thought I felt like I was watching a train wreck. Like, it felt like a story of, you know, the beginning of the end for Selena and how she ended up in Endovia and everything that happened directly before that that led to what I assume was Arobin betraying her. I know I said before that Selena staying with Arobin couldn't only be because of the brainwashing that he's clearly doing, but there's definitely an element of that because he clearly knows all the right things to say to manipulate her, and he does that in this book. You know, she goes in there saying, I'm going to leave, and she comes out of it going, oh, just one more mission, just one more job, I'm gonna stick around for a bit more because this guy loves me, he wants me around, he clearly values me. But it also began to make me wonder, knowing the sort of manipulative person that Arobin is, how early in advance of her going to Endovia he actually started the plan of betraying her and getting her there. Because I think it was right from the get-go when she betrayed him in the first The Assassin's Blade book, about releasing the slaves with the pirates. I think that was the first moment where he was like, right, I gotta get this girl gone. I am sort of enjoying The Assassin's Blade in all the books, but I will say I'm missing the atmosphere of Throne of Glass and that dark and mysterious and gothic nature of being in that palace, and I worry that that's gonna sort of become less and less of a thing as we sort of leave the palace in the future Throne of Glass books, and because we're not in it in this particular series of novellas. It was something that I really loved, and it was probably my favorite part of the book, other than some of the relationship building sides of things and some of the romance, obviously, because I'm always a fan of romance. The two biggest things that I was obviously waiting for in this book was the appearance of Lysandra and also the inevitable Sam and Selena romantic moment where they just, all their barriers come down and they just go, look, we love each other. With Lysandra, I think it was so great to see that sort of petty vindictive side of her that she was in these books and when Selena used to know her, compared to the side of her that you see in the other Throne of Glass series, where she kind of evolves a bit more and becomes more of a companion. And obviously with Sam and Selena, there's a lot of tension building between them throughout the series of novellas, and it was just the perfect payoff. But I will say, when he said like, I've loved you since I met you, I was like, yeah, bullshit, because how you treated her in the first novella was like the opposite of love. But I will say this book ended on an incredibly predictable and disappointing note, because there is no way, and I don't know why anyone would think Arabin would pick the moral high ground over profit ever at all, based on everything that he's done in this whole series and probably before in Selena's life. So when it was revealed that he in fact hadn't picked the moral high ground over profit, and this all was about profit, and this all was about like getting more slaves, and I was like, oh come on, like we all knew that beginning. Anyway, that is my thoughts on The Assassin and the Underworld. For today, I am going to finish this Assassin's Blade series of novellas with The Assassin and the Empire as the final book. But first, I am going out on the town with my lovely boyfriend Ben. We are going for a big walk all the way to Borough Market. We're gonna get some food, get some tacos, go to this apple crumble place that makes the best like homemade apple crumble. It's incredible. I'll show you a picture of it and you'll be equally gobsmacked. And yeah, of course I'm going to take you guys along with me, so I will see you in my next update. But for now, here's some lovely footage of London. I won't even lie to you guys, it is first thing in the morning on Monday. I've just gotten out of bed, just had a shower, not even fully dried my hair yet, haven't even started the workday, it is that early, and I realized, shit, I haven't actually filmed the ending of this vlog yet. Basically, I got really ill on Friday, it sort of carried over to Saturday. I got to Sunday and went into this massive like day-long reading slump where I just did not want to do anything, did not want to touch a book, did not want to read a book, nothing to do with books. I managed to push through and finish the end of The Assassin and the Empire, or the end of the Assassin's Blade series of novellas. I got that done, but I did not want to talk about it. I did not want to film. I was just like, nah, I'm not dealing with this today. And then I realized this morning, shit, that means I need to like really rush edit and finish off this thing before I start work and while I'm on my lunch break, because otherwise I'm just not gonna get this done. So with The Assassin and the Empire, the first thing I thought the minute I started reading this book was, this is the beginning of the end, and I can feel it. I can feel everything just falling apart. I can feel Arabin scheming in the background. I can feel Selena going like, you know, trying to make her life with Sam and that just not working. I know what's gonna happen to those two, and it was kind of sad. Overall, as a book, I think was a really underwhelming finale. It was a lot of preparation for action scenes that you didn't really get to see take place. I would have appreciated a little bit of time in Sam's point of view as he was like making his way to this sort of assassination that he was going to do of Rourke Farron, I think his name was. Obviously, I didn't want to see everything that happened after that, but I just wanted to see a little bit of that action taking place. I also really like that it was made blatantly clear in this book that Arabin was the betrayer in this whole situation, because it's not blatantly stated in the Throne of Glass series, and I think that's obviously because it's stated here, so it doesn't need to be repeated again. And I also thought his statement of like not wanting to share his belongings was fascinating, because it really hinted that this whole scheme against Selena and Sam started a really long time ago. Selena obviously was not any more likable to me by the end of these books. She's still one of my least favorite Sarah J Maas protagonists. I honestly think she has a god complex or something. I get that she's immature and young, but it just feels really unbalanced, really disconnected to have someone who acts so maturely, so oldly, has gone through so many major experiences in her life, to be so immature and childlike, especially in how vain she is, in how she has this inherent competitive nature that means she has to compare herself to everybody else around her, and she always has to come out on top, otherwise it completely throws her for a loop and she ends up like in a bad mood for the rest of the day, and then you deal with all the interactions when she's in a bad mood. She just doesn't know how to contain anything. And I'm hoping that's something that really like calms down as we get later on through the series, because I'm really beginning to lose patience with her. But yeah, anyway, that is my thoughts of the entire The Assassin's Blade series, and that is where I'm going to wrap up this vlog right here. I know I had intended to read Heir of Fire by Sarah J Maas as well, and maybe start A Court of Thorns and Roses, but it wasn't the week for it. I was so busy with work. We're getting into result season and everything like that, and then I got ill on Friday. It was not the week. This week I am determined to finish Heir of Fire, and I am determined to at least least start A Court of Thorns and Roses and hopefully finish it as well, because we are in the final week of Realmathon. But as it is the end of the vlog, let me know down below what you thought of my thoughts on this book, whether you loved the book yourself if you've read it, if you're planning to read it now that you've heard my thoughts on it. Let me know if me not liking Selena Sardothian is a really unpopular opinion, because I'm sure it is. I'm sure a lot of people love her, but I just can't get behind her. As always, like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I release new content, and I will see you lovely people in my next video. Bye!